Welcome to episode 7 of the Dan Wilkins Show. Last week we interviewed Jaron Kiviat, the owner of the New York Mets News fan page, which has over 75,000 followers and has more than any other Mets platform on Instagram. But we're going over to the Oakland A's organization and interviewing Hogan Harris, who's a left-handed pitcher in the A's organization. Welcome to the show, Mr. Harris.
Hello, how you doing?
Absolutely doing good. Just trying to hang on in quarantine, it's very interesting times that we're living in.
It is definitely something, isn't it?
It's definitely something that I think a lot of people have not experienced before, and, matter of fact, I don't think a lot of people want to experience it again. That's the thing.
I think that would be fair to say, yeah.
Yeah, that would be very fair to say. So let's begin. Going back to the beginning, when did you first gain an interest in baseball?
Oof. Well, I guess you could say it was in my life pretty much forever. My mom played softball at the University of Louisiana. She was a 3-time All-American, holds 2 NCAA records, played on the 1995 Olympic team for the summer. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was the year before. She was planning on playing in 1996, but then I came along, so that had to get cut short. But yeah, I guess that would be what you say what really started it, and then I started playing t-ball, I believe when I was 4. But that's where it all began.
I mean, for a lot of these interviews, I start off with, because these are sports people, so I just ask, when did you start getting an interest in this? And I've seen for a lot of them, it's been a trend that pretty much all of them started off when they were really young. I think the only exception was, episode 2 with Adam Capodisi, where he didn't start playing baseball until he was, 8. But a lot of other people, they start playing when they're really, really young. They play t-ball. They play on these travel teams at 8 years old. That's something I never did. I never played t-ball or coach pitch. I only started in the minors division of my town's league. So it's definitely interesting to see these stories of people who started off at very young ages and were kind of hooked onto the sport from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's been in my blood for a long time. But quick fun fact for you: if you can ever be lucky enough to get Jeff McNeil on. He didn't start playing baseball until he was 18.
Absolutely. He played high school golf, which...
Yeah.
My high school, I think we have a golf team, but, it's not the most popular sport in our school, so... I mean, Jeff McNeil, he's a very good player for the Mets, and he didn't get his start, like you said, until he was 18. I mean... We've seen two-sport athletes in the major leagues before, like Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson. They all played football and baseball. Even Danny Ainge played for the Blue Jays in the 1980s before transitioning to the Celtics in the NBA. But golf and baseball, they just don't mix. But that's...
No.
Yeah.
Especially not for a hitter normally. No.
Yeah.
As a pitcher myself, I love a good golf. Love a good golf game, but I don't have to worry about a swing. So that's pretty rare to see with McNeil, but it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I wonder if he was a left-handed hitting golfer too. That would be interesting to see some of his footage. But anyways, so during your youth days of baseball, obviously you're going through the ranks of the system, just being a better baseball player every day. When did you decide that you wanted to be a pitcher?
Oof. Well, I guess you would say high school. Because, I always enjoyed pitching, but I didn't think I was all that great at it. Because I really wasn't. When I was... probably 14, 15 is when I started to get decent. I was never anything crazy. I was just your average lefty throwing low, mid-70s when I was 15, 16. And all of a sudden, whenever I got to sophomore year of high school, I was 82 to 84, which still is nothing crazy, but pretty good, I guess, for a lefty at that time. And then all of a sudden, junior year, I came out of nowhere, topping out at 95. And then that was the real moment. I was like, yeah, I'm never touching the bat again.
Yeah, it's not very common to see pitchers, batting, especially because you're in the American League now, and if you make the major leagues, then, it's going to become even rarer for you to bat. But, in high school, even for my team, I don't even see any POs, as we call them, or pitchers only. There's, everybody's who also pitches is also a hitter, like a two-way player.
Yeah, the crazy thing, my high school, whenever I was... So my junior year, we had 11 D1 commits. We were the number 2 ranked high school in the nation.
Wow.
Yeah, so they didn't really need me to hit. We had 4 people going to LSU, 3 going to UL, a couple going to a couple of JUCOs. I think one went to UNO, University of New Orleans, and then my catcher got drafted in the first round. So
who was your catcher?
Chase Vallow plays for the Royals.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've heard of him, but yeah, that's
A while back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember him, but I don't know. But anyways, what was it like for you to go to UL-Lafayette? Like, what was it like for you to commit there, and what was the experience like for you to transition from high school to college?
Well, UL always, like I said, my mom played there. My dad went there. That's where he met my mom. So it's always been a big part of the family. But I thought about going to Mississippi State for a little while. We were supposed to have a official visit there, I think my junior or senior year. But that ended up being cut short because it was on Thanksgiving. My mom said I'm not allowed to leave during family time on Thanksgiving. But ended up being really good. Loved UL. Love Coach Rowe. Rest in peace to him. But passed away last year. But him and my dad were always good friends. He was a great pitching coach. I definitely don't think there's any better place I could have gone, because going into there, I just knew how to throw hard. I didn't know how to pitch. And he taught me everything I know on how to pitch. So I would say that there's definitely no regret in my mind going there. It was amazing.
So what was your favorite experience from your college days?
Oh, God, there's so many. Oddly enough, I think my favorite might have been the time that I gave up 5 runs in 1 inning, all on home runs.
Oh.
Because, yeah, it was tough, but it taught me a great lesson, which was not to walk people. It always comes back to haunt you. I would walk 2, 3-run bomb. Walked 1, 2-run bomb. And then, but after that, came back after that inning, then went 12 up, 12 down with, I want to say, 9 or 10 strikeouts. So after that, I think that one would have been my favorite, only because of the up and down of it, or down and up, depending on what way you look at it.
So just moving past your college years and going into your, I guess you could say, your senior year of college and your draft from the Oakland A's, what was it like being drafted by them?
It was pretty surreal. It was very cool because at the beginning of the year, I was projected to go anywhere from late 2nd to early 4th, which I ended up did fall right in the middle of that. So it was an accurate projection, but that was before I had the oblique injury in college. So I was out for a month and a half, I think. But luckily we came back from that pretty well. So it was amazing. Kind of, I don't want to say a shock, because I do feel like I earned that spot. But yeah, it was very surreal, to say the least. It was a call you wait for your whole life. So it was awesome.
And being drafted by a major league team, especially in such a early round, there's 40 rounds in the MLB draft, except for this year and next year, because they're doing 5 and 20 rounds respectively. So did you personally expect yourself to be drafted so early, or did you think that you might have fallen a little bit and gone a little bit later, or did you feel like it was a perfect fit?
I actually think it ended up being a perfect fit, because honestly the 3rd round is great because, well, I mean, it's great in general. I mean, it's just so early in the first place. But 1st and 2nd rounders, they have so much hype going into them. So if they have any sort of setback, it just seems like the end of the world for organizations and stuff. So it's the perfect amount of yeah, he went high. He's not crazy high. So it's it kind of gives you a little freedom, a little wiggle room, I guess, just to have a little less pressure on you. So I would say that I think it was the perfect fit.
And you've seen first overall draft picks that haven't even made the major leagues and retired, like Stephen Chilcott in 1966, Brian Taylor in 1990, Mark Appel in 2013. There's just been so many so many instances where the players who were drafted number one overall, they had the most media coverage, they had the most hype, they just did not pan out in the major leagues. And I think you got lucky. If you were drafted a lot higher, you would have had a lot more press, you would have gotten a lot more pressure to do a lot better. And, not having that much media attention on you, I feel like that's kind of a beneficial thing for anybody who's being drafted in professional sports. They should have.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was perfect because you get just as much respect in a way as all the other people do, but with way less pressure on your shoulders. So could not ask for anything else.
And then you look at the opposite end of the spectrum and you see guys like Mike Piazza who were drafted in the 62nd round, which isn't a round that it doesn't even exist in today's game.
My favorite story to tell people. Oh, I love that story. It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's insane because with 62 rounds, there's at least like a few thousand picks to make by a draft in a draft year. So you just gotta imagine you're towards the end of that, and then you go up to the major leagues and you have a Hall of Fame career. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Best stories in baseball, in my opinion.
The best sports stories in general are stories from baseball. I think everybody can agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say.
So what was the transition like for you to transition from college baseball to the minor leagues with an affiliated team?
Well, so it actually took me about a year to get to an affiliated team because towards the end of, I want to say right when I got there, I felt something weird in the old elbow the first day we were at camp, actually, once we got there after we got drafted, everything. I was like, that doesn't feel great. So we looked. Luckily, there were no tears, nothing like that. So I just had to get a PRP injection. I'm assuming, do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I got one of those, whatever. Rehab, by the time I was done my rehab, season was over, blah, blah, blah. So go back home, then I come back, and so whenever I was throwing, I actually ended up having a little rib strain thing, nothing serious, but it halted my throwing for a few weeks because you can't really twist much with it. It's more, worst part is not even something you can rehab. It's more you just kind of have to just let it go away and chill, let all the inflammation go down. So I had to kind of restart my throwing. So I ended up having a couple month late break, but it ended well because I want to say I broke with the Vermont Lake Monsters for the start of their short season team in June 10th. And then I went up to high A, and I would actually say the transition wasn't as crazy as I thought it was going to be. But then again, that short season, so a lot of the young guys, they just come out of college. They don't have quite the eye, I guess you would say, as some of the older fellas. But now the transition from short season to high A, that was something. Because I would throw anything I would throw within 2 inches, they just spit on. And I'm like, oh God, boy, this is going to be interesting. But ended up better enough. About as good as I could ask, I guess. So yeah, the more of the harder transition would be, I'd say it was from short season to high A.
Short season A-ball, it's almost like college plus, as I like to call it. There's these players from colleges, they come straight into the minor leagues, and they have to get adjusted. And then there's a lot of players that are coming in from high school to the minor leagues. That has to be the toughest transition of all. You went to a nice school which has a decent baseball program, and they have like a good competition. They have a good level of competition. But when you're going from a high school to affiliated baseball, that's got to be the toughest transition of all. So I kind of feel like you might not have had the toughest transition, but it definitely, as you said, was a lot more difficult transitioning between different levels of the affiliated ball program.
Yeah, so it's crazy how much a level or two changes. It really is. It's because like you said though, it's from here on out. You face every college team's 1 through 3 hole, or 1 through 4 hole, I guess, respectively, for all the big power bats. That's what you face every time. You don't face any more college 8 holes. It's just not what you do. So you're literally facing the best in the country every single time you play. And like you said, though, that's what the huge difference was from short season to high A, was that the high A, these are at the point now to where you're almost in double A. You're pretty much on the verge of being a veteran minor leaguer, I guess, in a way, if you want to put it that way. I mean, I know some people get there in a year, some get there in 4, but still, you get to the point of where you've seen enough to know what's going on. Those are the hitters that are tough to face. They spit on everything, and whenever you make a mistake, they do not miss. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be tough being a pitcher who, you're on the doorstep of Double A, and Double A is like, that's a whole different ballgame as well. I've seen the Wilmington Blue Rocks in Delaware, which is the High A Royals, and that is a completely different ballgame from the Trenton Thunder, the Double A Yankees. High A and Double A, they are two completely different levels of baseball, and that's just not to be ignored.
No, absolutely. It's always difficult going from one to the other, but especially once you get to the point of Double A, because Double A, Triple A, not only so you go from the point of being on the step to Double A to being on, all of a sudden you're a step away from the big leagues, really, truly, because there are a lot of people that go straight from Double to big leagues. Now, I will say that's a lot different in the A's organization, because we're a very young organization. I want to say our average age this year was like 24 and a half or 25 on the big team. So it's not, we're a very young organization, so it's a little bit different for us. You make your way to Double A, then Triple A, and then big leagues. Sure, there every now and then you have the people like Luzardo and Puck and Sean Murphy, people like that just go, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to play a few games in Triple A, and then I'm going to go all the way up. Which I understand. They're two lefties that throw 100 miles an hour. So that'll help. And then Sean Murphy just hits a ball 500 feet and is one of the best catchers I've ever seen. His receiving is incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing how good the A's organization is with their prospects right now, and it's definitely one of the reasons why they made the playoffs in 2019, even though unfortunately they did lose. But they, assuming that there is at least some playing of baseball in 2020, it'll definitely be an optimistic year for Oakland, to say the least.
I think we're going to have optimistic years for at least the next 5-6 years.
The
amount of we have that's under 28 years old is incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And don't forget about Matt Olson, too.
Oh, yeah. Olson, Chapman, they're incredible. They both got Gold Gloves again last year, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That A's infield, it is something else. You got Chapman, you got Simeon. At second base, you're probably...
Yeah, both are last year. I don't know who we're going to have this year.
I'm not sure.
We got a lot of options, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. And then Olsen and Murphy.
A lot of middle infield options.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So what do you think are the main challenges of being a left-handed pitcher?
Main challenges? Oof. Learning how to throw a left-on-left changeup. That's hard. Only because you're so used to making a ball run away from a bat of a righty. Especially because in college you don't see as many lefties as you do now. Now I face a large amount of lefties now. And now I guess that would be the biggest thing for me, which I've gotten much better at over the last year and a half, 2 years, was I rarely saw lefties in college. So I guess my biggest thing would be just getting used to how to throw to a lefty. Because I always know how to throw in on a righty. I've never been very good at throwing in on a lefty, but as of now, it's gotten much better. So I think my biggest thing would be actually facing left on left, which I know is supposed to be an advantage, but I just haven't been used to it because there were none in high school. I think I faced 2 lefties in high school, maybe, and then a few more in college, but not many. So I would say that's been the biggest challenge for me. But we're getting over that now, so.
And the further you go up the minor league ranks and even into the major leagues, you're going to face more and more lefties with each passing turn. It's. Oh yeah, it gets more and more dense as the levels rise in the world of the minor leagues. So speaking of the minor leagues and just facing, what do you think is your favorite experience from being in the minor leagues so far?
I would say it was, as odd as it sounds, the day my college coach passed away. had to tell my coach, because I planned on going to his funeral, which ended up being on the day, the next time I had to pitch. So that day, the day he passed, I wrote his name in the mound, and then I was scheduled to throw 3 innings that day, which I did, and I struck out the first 8 batters I faced. Ended up throwing, I wouldn't call it a no-hitter, but they got no hits through 3 innings. And then on the day that his funeral was, I threw again, and I no-hit through 4 innings again. So I guess I would say that was the coolest because it was pretty sentimental to me. So as of now, I would say that was some of the best memories I have as of now.
So obviously, being a minor league ball player and being as you progress further and further through the minor leagues, you got to be a role model. So, what advice would you give to a young ball player who wants to be a professional just like you are?
I would say, whenever it comes, the best way I can put it is this: one of my favorite phrases is, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Whatever you feel like is the hardest you can work, I promise you can go 10% higher. I mean, that would be the biggest thing I would say. Never limit yourself. If you try it, and if it doesn't work, like, let's just say in regards to a workout or something, if you've never lifted that weight before, that's fine, but at least try it, because you could shock yourself. And then once you get that first shock of, oh man, I can do more than I think I can, it just builds and it builds and it builds. So I would always say that phrase pretty much: be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that'll get you farther than probably 95% of the population, because no one wants to be uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, I can absolutely agree with that. But with that, that will wrap up episode 8 of the Dan Wilkins Show. So thank you for joining us, Mr. Harris.
Of course, thank you, sir. You have a good one.
So what was it like for... Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that.